Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Gear Over Beer. I am your host, Noah McCormick, and on today's episode, Matt Kaiser and Alex Kilmer of Porch Kat are going to call in. We're going to discuss the Muncie D.I.Y scene, what it was like getting to open up for Afroman, how they've been productive during quarantine, and the iconic Gibson versus Fender debate. This is a really fun episode and very laid back, so I recommend you grab a beer, sit back, and just listen to the episode. You can follow Porch Kat at Porch Kat Band on all social media, and make sure to listen to them on the streaming platform of your choosing. Now with that, let's get into the interview. Cue the music.
It's Gear Over Beer. Gear Over Beer.
All right, we are back. Episode 5, I believe. Yeah, episode 5. We're back. We are here today with Porch Kat's Matt Kaiser, and later on, Alex Kilmer of Porch Kat will also be joining us. Matt, how are we doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing swell. That's what we kind of talked before we started recording, but how's quarantine been for you? You've been very productive in this time.
Yeah, just been writing as much music as I can, playing guitar. I've been brushing up on some theory, just doing all the things that I haven't had time to do until this happened. So Now I've got nothing but time and all the excuses in the world, but just try not to use them.
Have you found it hard to be more creative, like with so much free time, or do you find it that it's been pretty easy to work on new material and kind of go about things that way?
I definitely have waves of like I released a solo EP of within the first couple of weeks of quarantine.
And that's called Guitar Sounds from Isolation?
Yes. Yep,
okay.
That one. It's on Bandcamp and YouTube from Sonasuit Records. And that flowed really well just because I had a couple ideas already, but then it was just like kind of in the moment of like trying to convey some of the things that I was feeling only in sounds, no words or anything to kind of color that in any way. So that worked really well. And then I sat for a while and kind of twiddled my thumbs and didn't really know what to do afterwards. And now I've been writing more Porch Kat stuff, trying to get geared up for what, hopefully get back and play music in front of people again. That's what I really enjoy doing.
Speaking of also writing for Porch Kat right now, do you find it hard to differ if you're writing something for like a solo project or if you're writing for Porch Kat? Or how did you go about writing those songs for that EP?
Those ones were more. I do have a differentiation with how I record. When I'm writing something, I kind of know what category it's going to fall into based on how I record it. Because Porch Kat stuff, I want to tailor to it can be really cool live. So I try to keep it to two main guitar parts and one bass part and one drum part. And then some of the songs on the Guitar Sounds from Isolation, I have 50 guitar tracks. Like it's all like crazy guitar mini, like layered on stuff that I knew, like I'm not going to be able to replicate this live in a way that will be meaningful at all. But I still want to get that idea out there because I think it's kind of a cool thing that I was able to get. Yeah. So
do you have any aspirations to play those songs live, or do you think that you're just going to let that kind of be its own separate entity kind of a thing?
I mean, I could if anybody would listen. I don't. Yeah. It just kind of depends on where we're at, you know. I am always for playing in front of people. If I have an opportunity to perform, I'm going to say yes, regardless of if, you know. And so now I have if other people in Porch Kat aren't able to make something or whatever, I'll be like, hey, I can do an hour. Like, I'll scrounge together a band and I can do an hour like of original content that most people haven't heard before. Yeah.
And that's what we were kind of talking earlier. And you said that you've been doing like these Reddit session kind of a things. Do you want to kind of talk about that a little more?
Yeah. So Reddit has a really cool, I've always really liked Reddit for various different things. I like cars and I like watches and I like guitars. And there's a lot of different subreddits for people that like those three things. And I recently found that you can do live streams on Reddit, which is kind of a new feature. And so I've started doing on Reddit sessions, just play for 45 minutes or an hour or however long they'll let you. You can add on time or take away time depending on if you like something or not. You can kind of vote on it and be like,
Okay.
this person needs 50 minutes or this needs to end sooner. Like, get off.
It'd be a really interesting thing in terms of being the artist that's playing, because you would literally see people either enjoying what you're doing or not enjoying in that aspect.
Exactly. And just watching, I start it and then I watch the comments. I don't watch the numbers because the numbers fluctuate a lot. Because like on that Reddit thing, like I'll sign on and you start at 0 out of 10 on the subreddit, like of amount of streams or whatever. And then you start to work your way up. And then once you get up into the top 2 in that one subreddit, then you get on the all page. And so it goes from 40 people are listening, 60 people are listening, 500 people are listening, 2,000 people are listening, 500 people are listening, 2,500. Like, it's like it,
all over
it
the
jumps
place.
around so. And when you're watching that while you're trying to like keep up, keep music going in your head and in your hands and trying to flow that, like, that's really distracting. Being like, they must not like that chord that I just played because 2,000 people clicked away when I hit that chord. Like, I need to not, like, you start to overthink everything. So I focus on the comments of like, sometimes people will ask questions or make suggestions, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. And if they're bad, you ignore them. And if they're good, you answer them and just kind of get on with your day. I don't know.
So has that all been original content that you've been playing then? Yeah,
pretty much. I did one that was like, because you title them ahead of time, and so sometimes it's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes of this one title. This one thing, I'm just going to sit here and do this. There was one day that I did a Led Zeppelin centered stream. So I would play a Led Zeppelin like riff or song and then kind of improv into the next one and kind of trying to connect the dots between them and like take recommendations but not stop and start again. Like, if it's in a different key, like, find a way to change the key, make the chords work around in your favor so that you can drop back into the idea that you have next. It's been a really fun exercise as a musician to just like,
yeah, for sure.
Because I would always, I started playing guitar when I was 7, and like started taking lessons and stuff when I was 7. So and continued until I left for college. So I was always playing guitar. And a lot of my best ideas came from me just sitting on the couch with an electric guitar, not plugged into anything, watching TV, just like messing around. And I would just sit there and do that for hours and hours and hours. And so this kind of feels like that, but with an audience to be like, hey, that's kind of cool. Like, I liked that idea. Like, keep going.
Yeah, that's what kind of the big thing that has kind of forced me to be creative is I started messing around with open tunings. And like, because when you start getting into that stuff, it kind of throws all your previous ideas and like concepts of playing guitar out the window. And so nothing, like, it's just so much more creative and like, you're like, all right, well, whatever happens kind of a deal.
Exactly. Nothing's worse than when you first learn the minor pentatonic scale and it opens all these doors and it's just the best. And so you just put all of your time into that. And then it gets to the point where it's like, every time I pick up a guitar, I'm doing the same exact thing that I've been doing forever. And you get stuck in this cycle of, I know how to play the guitar. I play it like this, like, and so I've been really trying to push myself out of that box and be like, okay, so now we need to learn more about theory, like more tangible knowledge just about how music works, and more about jazz and more about different kinds of music that have typically been out of my comfort zone to some degree. But
yeah, I think that's the one thing I've always really appreciated about your style of playing. And anytime I would watch you and Porch Kat play, or even if you're playing with Pat and the Pissers, is that you're a technician in the way that you play, and you can tell everything
Thank
is
you.
technical but still has that emotion and creativity mixed with that, with just being so technical, that it's really free flowing and very easily listenable to, if that is the correct way to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate kind words always, but that means a lot coming from Honeybee Wells, Noah McCormick.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, but I started playing blues. That was my first thing, because that's really, I feel like, the easiest stepping stone into getting into playing with emotion and fast, like, which is just what I wanted to do. I heard Jimi Hendrix when I was 7 and said, I want to do that. Whatever that is, get me one for Christmas. Like, I want to do that. And from then on, it was just like, okay, here are the steps that we need to take for you to be able to sound like Jimi Hendrix. Like, so first you got to learn chords, because you have to make your hands do what your hands have to do to play guitar. And then you learn scales, and it's still kind of boring, because you just got to muscle memory, teach your hands up and down and the patterns of everything. But then once I got to the point where I could hear an idea in my head and my fingers would do it, that was just a whole big game changer of
Absolutely.
Like, I can take the sound that I'm hearing in my head and I can make it happen so other people can hear it too. That was like a huge, wide, big door open. Like, okay, I can pretty much do whatever I set my mind to now musically. Like, as far as a guitar is concerned, I'm pretty useless in other. Like, you put me behind a drum kit, it's gonna be really funny, because like my hand gets it, my right hand gets rhythm like that, but my left hand just doesn't, because my left hand does this, my right doesn't do this. Like,
okay, that makes sense.
Even though I played percussion in middle school for a couple of years, but that's beside the point.
So I kind of want to go back to kind of how we met. Obviously, we both, went to college at Ball State, and we both were very heavily involved in the Muncie music scene. How would you kind of describe the Muncie music scene to someone who's kind of maybe new to it? Or because I can talk about it all day long and just how great it is. And I've talked about it on almost every episode of this podcast, but I'd be kind of curious just to hear someone else's kind of point of view on it.
Yeah, so the Muncie music scene is very interesting, because I think to understand that, you first have to understand Muncie, because Muncie is a largely conservative, kind of in the middle of nowhere Indiana town with a big university in the center of it, full of a bunch of people that want to do a bunch of various different things with their lives. And really, as far as nightlife is concerned, you have Brothers, which is a big chain bar, and you have the Chug, which is a small dive bar, and then you have Be Here Now, which is
a DIY venue,
a bar, but mostly a venue. For our intents and purposes, it's an 18-up venue that also sells beer if you can. And so there's the crowd that every weekend, every night, every day goes to Brothers, like, and then there's the crowd that goes to the Chug, and then there's this whole other group of people that, what do they do? Like, they don't want to go to karaoke night at the bar with all those people, or they don't want to go listen to trap music, like, or country music or whatever. Like, there's this whole big niche of people that would rather go and see live music than go just drink and play pool with their friends, which I definitely fell into. And so finding Be Here Now first was like a big thing, like, oh, a place like this exists where people can just play music. And then finding the house show networks on the other end of the spectrum of people my age being proactive in trying to find a place for us all to just be able to unwind and be our truest selves. Like, I just think it's really cool to see how quickly everything progressed, and how the first time I walked into the sauna, a house show venue, it was the first time I walked in and I didn't recognize a single person. I was like, we're on to something here. Like, with very little promotion, we were able to get a couple hundred people to just show up, like, rather than take any of the other options of that Friday or Saturday night, like, to come to a house to see whatever band was playing that. Like, I don't even remember, but yeah, that's kind of my big takeaway, is just how many people fall into the category of, I don't want to go to the big chain bar or the dive bar. Like, I want something more out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so great how inclusive the whole scene is. Like, there's not really two bands that are alike in the scene, like, from Muncie. Like, there's, I varied from all of Alex Beckman's projects, which are, punk oriented, but with kind of different styles. But there's no
he's also
bands
got
that are the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't matter, and people will all go to the shows. Like, it's always like the same. I mean, it's always the same, but there's always new people too. But it's like, they didn't matter who was playing. They just wanted to be together in a place where they felt safe, which is extremely important, and where they were enjoying their time.
Yeah, beyond just being like loyal to one band or one artist, like, there are people that are loyal
to the scene,
venues, and that's really important to the scene in general, just to the betterment of people making art and people paying or just being responsive to that art, which I just think is really awesome. That's the best thing that happened to me in college, is easily meeting all of those people and getting to be in that circle of people, for sure.
Absolutely. That's what did you have any, like, bands that you were, and don't say Honey Be Well just because, but bands that, like, you were like, every time I know I'm playing with these guys, I know it's going to be a fun show, or something like that?
Definitely. The first one that comes to mind is the Wampus Milk Daddies.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen them.
I have. That's what Tony. I know Tony, so Tony's a great guy.
Yep. And the Wampus Milk Daddies and Pushing Daisies, and even some of there's a band from Cleveland called Racket Man that's come through that,
it's crazy. That's what Racket Man feels like, a local band, because I mean, every tour they'll come through and play Muncie, but everyone loves
whatever
Racket Man in Muncie. That is like a dead set band.
They're awesome. And when Pat and the Pissers went on tour, we stayed at their place in Cleveland, and it was awesome. It was so cool. They have a great big house with like a studio set up in the living room, and it's just like exactly what you'd expect those guys to be. Like, their living situation is exactly what you'd expect. It's awesome.
That's what we played with them like 2 tours ago. We were going through Ohio, and we had them hop on a date in Cincinnati, and like, they were like, "Holy shit, you want us to play? Like, yeah, we'll play with you guys. We love you guys." And like, Tommy and all those guys are just absolute sweethearts, and it's hard not to love that band. Yeah,
exactly. Like, there definitely are somewhere there are the like stereotypical musician type people that are like too cool for whatever, but like, overwhelmingly it's just been sweetheart people, like the nicest people you meet that are coming through, and like, you just want to hang out with them, to listen to their music, and just to spend time with them more.
Yeah,
like, that's the main thing about it. Like,
yeah, just the amount of friendships that I've had come out of the like Muncie music scene is like overwhelmingly so positive and great. Like that's what, like, I don't even remember like us meeting, but like, we just instantly hit it off and like became buds. Like, and I feel like it was that way with almost everyone.
Yeah, I don't remember the first time. I remember it definitely wasn't the first time we met, but I remember the show that we both like. It was one of the few times that we shared a bill together, like Porch Kat and Honeybee Well, and just like hanging out with you and then watching the show and then hanging out with you after. It's like, yeah, this guy gets like what this whole thing's supposed to be about. Like,
I think it might have been Spook Fest. The first Spook
was
Fest.
that? Did you play outside? Did you play outside at that one?
No. Oh wait, that was Lame Brain
later.
Fest. Yeah.
Yes, that was later. That was much later, actually. But that was the one I was thinking of. But
yeah,
yes,
that's what I think. The first time we ever played together was the first Spook Fest because you guys did a Beatles set that year.
Yes, we all dressed up as Ringo and we played Beatles songs the whole set. Yeah, that was fun. Our Spook Fest sets are really fun. I'm really bummed that.
So you guys did the Beatles theme the first year, and second year of Spook Fest you guys did a Nickelodeon theme in which you guys did a bunch of Nickelodeon show theme songs.
Yes. Yeah,
and you dressed up as Jimmy Neutron, and you had the hair all up crazy like Jimmy Neutron and everything.
My hair was straight up in the air. There was actually a beer can on top of my head with my hair sprayed up around it. That I had to get really drunk that night to be able to comb that out later so I could go to bed. But it was so worth it.
That was such an iconic set.
That was really fun. And preparing for that one was really good. Just because like we practiced like a couple times, and then our big practice before the show was at the Hoosier Dome, which it's a great spot. It's really cool. It was
I love the Dome.
And everybody was great to us and everything. But I don't think they jived with the fact that we spent 2.5 hours working on the SpongeBob song "Sweet Victory" with Parker Pickett screaming and jumping around because I don't know. It was fried, and then it's been kind of hard to get that as a practice space anymore since then. But it was really fun.
That's what's up. What songs did you guys all do? You did SpongeBob. You guys did Jimmy Neutron, we did like Drake and Josh.
Jimmy Neutron. We did the Drake and Josh. We did the Danny Phantom theme song, which is one of my favorites.
Yes, and Kilmer killed that on the bass. He did that bass line. Yeah, that. Oh, I remember that now.
That was a good one. And then the finale was "Sweet Victory."
Yep.
The Bubble Bowl episode where they all rise up, and we had Parker Pickett being old school and just he was belting that out, and he at the last verse he was crowd surfing while singing, which I'll never forget that. That was really awesome.
Yeah, that was I think you guys headlined night 1 of Spookfest 2, right? So that was like the end of the night too. Yeah, that was the best way to go out. Oh man, good times. So that's what you.
So we've had so much. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Just talking about how you guys play a lot in Indy. You guys play a lot in Muncie. How do you find that like a different mindset? You're going into Indy because it's not much of a college town when you play. It's more bars, and then in Muncie, it's more college, more of a college crowd.
Obviously. We're really relaxed in Muncie now just because we've played here a lot. So they're always more of a loose energy kind of silly show. But we try to carry that energy into every show we play regardless of where it's at. Sometimes it's harder than others when you're at the Vogue, say. Yeah. Like you're not going to have the same energy as if you're playing a house show because 50 people it's scale wise. Like you need 2,000 people in a room that big to feel like 50 people in a house show.
Yeah.
But there's also like you never know who the people here are, so you still want to be putting on a really good show just in case. Like
absolutely.
And And also you want to get invited back. Like, I'm not homies with the guy that owns the Hi-Fi or the Vogue or whatever. Like, I have to put on a good show to get invited back. So it's like a different kind of level of not even like preparation or anxiety. It's just the butterflies before, like right before you get on. It's like, okay, this one matters a little bit more than some of the other ones that we've done. But in the end, like, I try to keep the mindset the same, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, if our formula is working and we keep bringing more people in and people keep having fun, like, and we keep having fun, like, that's the end goal. Like,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
keep growing that.
Yeah. That's what, to kind of go off some of the, the different style, like that's what you talked about playing the Hi-Fi and the Vogue. That's what you guys were in the Battle of the Bands. And you guys made it to the final round. What was that whole kind of journey like?
That was awesome. The whole battle through, we did the 2 rounds that were both at the Hi-Fi, which were just incredible. I love playing the Hi-Fi. We all love playing the Hi-Fi, and just all of the band. It started with 72 bands, and every single one of them were just very nice. Like, we're in this to just see what happens. Like, no, it wasn't like a typical competition style, like, we hate you guys because you're the competition, because you never know, like, you never knew who you're going to be facing up with in the next round. It just kind of depends. And so we had a couple scheduling conflicts throughout, which were really the biggest stressors throughout the entire thing, was just making sure we were all available for the days that we were scheduled. Because one member in particular, Kilmer, is in like 5 different bands. So it's just kind of getting everything. But it all worked out to, we made it to the final round in the top 8. And it was a draw of the hat to go with the order of the show. And we wound up being first of the night. So we started at 7 o'clock. Yeah. Which was not ideal. But it was also, it worked out ideally because we got all the connections.
Kilmer! What's up, brother?
Hey, yo.
Welcome to the show.
What are you guys talking
about? We're talking about Battle of the Bands.
Oh, gee whiz.
What a roller coaster.
Takes me back.
2 months ago.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, just going, I was just talking to you, like, going through the whole process and just meeting all of the people. It was never like it never felt like a competition until they were reading out the order of the night at the very end. Like, all the votes cast up, and then it was like, okay, we're all in our bubbles of we want to win and we don't want to. But outside of that, it was always like
very friendly.
Yeah.
A lot of my favorite people that I met in the process were musicians who, like, weren't playing that night, and they were just in the audience. And, like, I met, like, so many cool people that way. And, like, they seek you out, and they're like, I'm a musician too, and, like, this is my stuff. I really appreciate your stuff. Obviously, all the other bands were super cool. But, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and just, like, the mentality of, like, the worst case scenario going into that was we all play a really kick-ass sold out show at the Hi-Fi or the Vogue, regardless of
everybody wins.
Like,
everybody wins.
Like, I was gonna say, like, oh no, I have to play this huge show at the Vogue. It's totally gonna suck.
But I might,
there's
like, at the same time, like, on paper, we didn't do the greatest in that last round. But we made it to the last round, and we met.
We had the opportunity.
And we don't have to pay taxes on the van.
Days after that, the Vogue hit us up to play that show that we opened up for a touring group, Big Talking Fish. So, like, just a couple days after that happened, the Vogue venue hit us up and were like, you should come open for this touring act. So even though, like, we didn't place well in that thing, like, we impressed the people that we really,
needed to.
The exposure. the exposure of just being in the whole thing in general, like, and getting as far as we
the
did
crowd vote was a pretty small factor in what success you can get out of that experience.
And also, like, we had a lot of people because we played first. We played really early in the night.
Fucking sucked, dude. It was terrible.
As soon as we
half
that,
half the house was outside still, man. It was a bummer
because it was legitimately a sold out show at the Vogue, and by the time that we were going on and playing, most of the people that had come to see us were still waiting in line,
and
like a couple blocks away.
It would have been an hour if we ever got in there.
Yeah.
So even though and those were people that had been standing there for like 3 fucking hours,
and like
it was so sad.
Like real like OG fans that like would have and wanted to and were there, but didn't get a chance to be in.
It was the limited number of pre-sale tickets, and then like it just kind of seemed like it was kind of getting poorly managed at the front of the house because there were people standing out there for hours and hours. There's no way that line should have been as far outside as it was by the time we were going on.
But so
that's the bummer. But
it's the way the cookie crumbles.
Once you get past those things, which we totally are.
And then
then you just get a great experience out of it.
Yeah,
and it's really just it's been good for us.
My big thing is the experience was awesome, and we got all these connections. We booked all these shows, and then they all got canceled.
Yep. I was gonna say that's what we were working on, booking some tour dates for June, and not happening now.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything's just like realistically, honestly, this whole time I didn't think that was going to be possible, anyways. Even when they were saying, "Yeah, June will still happen," I was like, "No, it won't."
That's funny.
You don't get it then. I guess.
Which, like, you know, all for being optimistic, but also like,
don't be an idiot.
The safety of everyone goes above our want to play music.
Like that just sounded way too early to have everybody back in a crowd together.
Yeah.
And I was like, that doesn't sound realistic at all. I don't think the public would really condone that.
Yeah.
So
but
you know, we're got our live stream coming up here.
I haven't talked about that yet. I waited to drop that until you showed up.
Oh baby.
We will have plenty of time for plugging. Trust me. I wanted to talk about the first time I ever saw Porch Kat is when you guys opened up for Afroman.
That was the first time most people saw Porch Kat.
Yeah,
Dude,
I was going to say,
that was.
Do you guys want to talk about playing with Afroman and what he was like and just kind of that whole experience of getting to open up for
That was
45 himself?
If I remember correctly, that was our 5th show. Ever. Like as a group, that was our 5th show, and it was only because we played the Free Music Monday at Be Here Now,
which was our first show.
Which was our first show ever, and like 50 people showed up.
That was in April.
Which on a Monday night during the school year, like that's pretty solid. So then we were like, "Hey Whitney, let us open for Afroman."
You literally just asked,
and he's like, "Sure, why not?" And
that's awesome.
Like, I think it was Brad. And there was like, "Hey, would you mind if like Porch Kat did that? Like, we see there's another opener. Can we like be the first opener?" Yeah, sure. We're like, oh, all right, cool. So
damn, I didn't think it was going to be that easy. Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly.
That was one of the best shows I've ever been to at Be Here Now, just because, I mean, it was a packed house. Me and Alex Beckman were next to each other for the whole show, just like going crazy for the whole time, watching Afroman just kind of do his thing. And I talked to him after the show, and I ended up with his number at the end of the night. Yeah.
Wow. For him and didn't.
So that's what, like, I was in the front row with Beckman, and like when he's done, he's talking to everyone in the front row. I said, "Hey man, like I play in that's what I was like, "Hey, like I play in a emo pop punk band, Honeybee Well, like I'd love to like, you know, if you come back, you know, play with you sometime." And I was like, "How can I like get a hold of you?" He's like, "Give me your phone." And he put his phone number in. And so now I just have Afroman's phone number just chilling.
He was asking to open for it.
I haven't been able to bring myself to like text or call that number. Like I'm like, I don't want to like bother Afroman. Like he's probably doing important stuff, like smoking.
Hello, Afroman. Yeah, my favorite thing about Afroman, I saw him twice now. I saw him the year before we played, and then I saw him the year that we played. My favorite thing is just how messed up he gets and still is performing.
Yeah,
Fucking awesome.
he's
Like impressively
It's
watching
impressive.
him get
Yeah.
fucking tossed. And I like pretty cohesively play a guitar, I guess.
Play
yeah. I was gonna
guitar.
say he was still playing licks and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he's a great showman. Like,
Oh,
Just fun
absolutely.
as hell.
yeah,
Oh man.
like I'm gonna have a hard time ever in my life convincing my sisters that I've ever done anything cooler. My older sisters that like grew up during like when Because I Got High and everything was like
Popular.
huge.
Yeah.
You're opening Afroman.
That's the most
Like-
famous guy ever. That's
That's awesome.
The first time I saw him, I saw a stagehand at Be Here Now carry 4 Colt 40-ounce Colt 45s up on stage for Afroman during his set.
Yep.
It's like, and he was drinking it out of a diamond-studded chalice.
I do
Of
remember that.
course.
So that's why I kind of want to get to the gear aspect of the podcast. I was wondering if you guys would mind running through like a little rig rundown of what your guys' current setup is like.
Yeah. So on Porch Kat stuff, I don't know if I have it here. Okay, so
yeah, bro. This is my orange crate here. It's pretty rare.
Dude, that thing
Yeah.
that thing purrs like no other, let me tell you.
the distortion. The
The
distortion.
sustain. Listen to it. The sustain.
So my
Smudge goes to 11 for sure.
my main guitar is this one right
Okay.
here. It's a Gibson ball with it. It's a traditional body and neck, but it's got burst buckers swapped into it and 50 style wiring, and it's got a Clusen switch tip on the, a Clusen tuner tip on the switch tip, just for ease of switching. This is my main guitar just because I know in my head, like, if I'm playing Violet, which is one of our songs, I'm going to flip to the neck pickup, I'm going to roll off the tone a little bit, and I'm going to crank the volume. I know that that is home base for that song, like, for the tone that I need out of that. So it's just
Absolutely.
kind of a comfort with anything. So there's that. I've got a pedal board that's mostly just boost, and I've got one distortion pedal, one booster that I run pretty much all the time, and a Crybaby wah with a phaser that I jump into every now and then, and a delay that I hit a couple times, but it's mostly just I run a boost and a Tube Screamer clone just for the extra bite when I want to do like a solo or something, and then a Crybaby wah for the wah stuff into a Fender Deluxe Tweed amp, and
Classic.
that's pretty much what it's pretty straightforward.
She sounds
Very
nice.
simple man. Kilmer, how about yourself?
Oh, dude, we don't have the licensing to play Leonard Skinner on this podcast.
Shit,
Right?
Dude, we're gonna get
That's
we're gonna get
gonna
flagged.
be hitting you up.
Shit.
We're definitely getting flagged. Copyright.
flagged. Yeah, Skinner flagged.
But Kilmer, do you want to run through your?
Wait, say what?
Do you want to run through your rig rundown?
Kilmer will grab his little bass. We've got this one's a
So this is fun because Matt, like, I picked out the stuff and pretty much like Matt built it. So
I was gonna say, I remember
this
when you guys
body
came
and
into
this neck.
Sight and Sound, and you were telling me about how you're kind of building a guitar. So
love this thing. So I had this body and this neck like laying around like my entire childhood, and then like my old man passed away, and I got a hold of him, and so I definitely wanted to build it and set it up. So I took it to Sweetwater Sound and went there. Ooh, we need to ground the net. You need
There's
that?
always something to do. Yeah, it probably is due for a new nut,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. All right, we're gonna get a new nut. But had these pieces laying around forever. Got the setup done at Sweetwater while I was there. Gave them the pieces to set up the neck and the bridge and shit. And then we went on the computer and picked out all the hardware and all that. We had, pretty sure that nut was new at the time. So that's bummer. It's kind of all fucky now. But yeah, picked out everything.
Seymour
spec'd it
Duncan
out.
pickups.
Yeah, we got a Seymour Duncan PJ setup.
Switchcraft pots and
Yep.
knobs and everything.
Yeah,
All
3-way toggle. Quite nice. We got Fender tuners. And the works. It's everything I've ever needed in a bass, pretty much. I would have eventually bought a Fender P bass. I probably still will someday, but it certainly fills the void, and it costs like $400 to put together.
Total, yeah.
Total, and it plays like $1,000 bass, if not better.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And I just rewired it like 2 days ago.
Matt is a hide your daughter. That man can solder. All right.
That's awesome. Are you running any pedals or anything, or are you running straight into an amp?
I'm a prude. I'm a prick. I don't want none of that.
That's fine.
You do
So
have-
what do you-
You have a distortion channel on your bass amp.
I
that
never
you
use it. Ever, like literally almost never. Sometimes during a DRL end set, if
Yeah.
I think it doesn't have enough balls, and that's only like depending on the venue. But like that Ampeg amp that I use, it's combo. Like it's this like nice natural growl to it without just by like turning it up pretty much and like.
Some of that might have been the flood.
Exactly. Some water damage made it sound pretty cool. So that's that's fine. It's like how the Kinks were just like shoving newspaper in their
Yeah.
amps.
Cutting.
Yeah,
Like-
we were just putting it 2 feet underwater in Brandon's basement.
Oh, score. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's what you do. That's what. Yeah, that's that's what they do at the Ampeg fucking warehouse. This is where we soak the coins.
So I guess this kind of leads me to the question. I know, Matt, you're both a Gibson and a Fender guy. Kilmer, I would assume you're more of a Fender guy, to say the least. But okay, so what's better in your perspective, Gibson or Fender? But also, what's your take on relics and relicking guitars? Should they be naturally worn down, or what's your take on people relicking to give it that look?
Like the look of like a road worn.
Mhm.
I love that shit. I don't mind it. So like you can talk about your relic.
So I've got my
First
my,
of all, Fender is the goat.
Fender is
Gibson is the
definitely-
real goat, but
Fe-
for me,
Fender is my first love, definitely. Like when I was first starting, I started with a 3/4 size Squire mini Strat, and then I graduated to a full size Squire Strat, and then like a Squire.
you played a whole
or
lot of
Fender.
telly.
Yeah, I played my Telly for a very long time, and then I hit this point where I
Your
played.
hands got stronger.
My hands got stronger, and I played a Les Paul for the first time, and really just felt the kick in the balls that you can get from a humbucker.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it really, and ever since then, I haven't been able to. I always have been in the camp of tone is in your hands. Like you sound like how you sound with your hands. Like you can play whatever guitar, and I can play whatever guitar and sound like me. But for what Porch Kat is, I really want the rich, creamy tone that you get from a
Yeah,
humbucker in
Especially when it's complementing Tyler's rig.
exactly, and
Yeah.
because Tyler's rig is typically more strident and bright, and so trying to balance that with the other guitar player in our band, I really find that having a really dark, rich, creamy tone really helps with that. That being said, this is my Strat that I use for the band Pat and the Pissers, that started as just a $100 Squire bullet Strat off the wall at Guitar Center, and I dropped it immediately in the parking lot, and then have since just absolutely beat the hell out of this thing. Any opportunity, I've taken a torch to it. I put staples in it. This is a earring stud that I shoved into the wood, and it's this was a $100 guitar, that I put $300 pickups in, and then have just beaten the shit out of it because it sounds so cool. It has the sound of a full-on Fender
Strat.
American Standard
Yeah.
Strat, but I mean, the husk of it is such a cheap thing that like it'd almost be a shame to just keep it nice. Like I want to beat something like this up. So in a relic situation, if I have something like this that started out as an inexpensive guitar that I just want to make more comfortable and more worn in and just make my experience with it more comfortable, I see nothing wrong with that.
Okay. That's why I think it's kind of a boomer thing to be upset. Like, you got to earn that, kid. Like, I really think it's a boomer.
You don't deserve it. You
Which I can also kind of get, but I've been on both sides of that fence for sure.
Yeah. I've been playing guitar for 40 years, and I wore down that guitar. You're like, okay,
You know.
which is awesome. Like look at Willie Nelson's Trigger.
Oh, with the hole in it.
It's an acoustic guitar that has a hole in the top.
That's shit.
Worn out from him playing the hell out of it. That is end goal, obviously. But there's nothing wrong with trying to give yourself a little bit of a head start in that. Especially when it comes for like just being there's just a cat coming out of your armpit.
Yeah, no, so that's what, like, if the cats come too close to like the green screen, like they'll pop up. Like in the past couple episodes, like they'll come sit by my keyboard right here, and like they'll just be chilling out for like half the episode. So
our cat's just trying to give his opinions on relicking strats or not.
Smudge, what's your opinion?
just
People
over
are
there
dying
like-
to know.
Smudge is a big guy.
By the same token, though, so I have that Strat that I've purposely really beaten the crap out of. But then I've also got this Gibson Les Paul that I've just played
Pristine.
really hard.
Yeah.
And just not even pristine, because it's got scratches and it's got everything, but everything on it is honest. Like it is all from like the headstock has got a bunch of nicks out of it. That's from taking it off at the sauna and slamming the headstock into the ground or drop. Like if you'll be really surprised. The people that relic guitars, you'll be really surprised if you just play it for a couple of years how quickly the stuff will. Like look at like how rusty these screws are. I don't know if you can see that.
That's starting to happen on my Reverend that I've had for like 2 years now. But just because I played it at outdoor venues, indoor venues, it's been in the car traveling to gigs, on tour and whatnot. Just like that stuff happens.
Yeah, if you're using it in battle condition, so to say, if you're playing live shows and you're recording with it and you're taking it wherever you're going, it's gonna get worn. Like automatic road worn. That being said, I have contemplated taking a little bit of a lip off of the with the Les Paul. You get the sculpted top. So on the edge here, it kind of comes up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've thought about brushing that off just because I do get like blisters on my forearm sometimes when I play with like on and stuff, but I probably won't do that just because I
can't bring yourself to do it. Yeah, no, I feel that.
I don't want to leave it how it is because it'll get where it needs to be in the end of it,
For sure. Well, boys, I think this is going to lead us to one of our final segments, but it's a game we like to play here called Only One Can Survive. So it's in which I will list off 3 albums. Only one can survive, and the other 2 will cease to exist from history. So I've kind of done a dive on both of your social medias to kind of try and just from knowing you guys to try to figure out 3 very important albums to you guys. So you guys will both answer this question, but are you guys ready for the albums?
I guess so.
We each get our own, or is it?
No, it's the same. It's the same list. I tried to pick for like out of stuff that you guys both really love. So
Okay, yeah.
All right, album number 1. Joe Bonamassa, Blues Deluxe. Okay. Album number 2, Led Zeppelin 2. Album number 3, Rush, 2112.
Get out of here, Joe Bonamassa.
Okay, Bonamassa. I will concede Bonamassa's out on that one.
Okay.
I
So
love
we
Dilemma.
knocked out the weakest link.
Yep. What was the Rush album? Which Rush album?
2112.
2112. Oh man, that's really strong. So now I think it's a fist fight between us.
Yeah.
Because I'm in Camp Zeppelin fully.
Okay.
Rooted in Rush.
Okay.
But
So that's just like prospectively, like if you give either of those, like unless like you give like a killer Rush album in a week, like Zeppelin pick,
Yeah.
vice versa, like that's
Yeah.
another story. But like, I mean, there's
That's-
like no like there's no bad Zeppelin record.
But you did a really good job at narrowing down. Okay, now you have my favorite band and his favorite band, and neither of us are going to concede on that one. I don't think.
That's what I kind of thought was going to happen. That's the end game of what I had planned. So
But the thing is, like, you gotta like as much of a Rush fan as I am. It's like you gotta like Zeppelin has an edge on everybody.
And at the same time, like 2112
21
is
like
astonishing. Like you
Yeah,
can't. I would never want to live in a world without that album having existed. But also Zeppelin 2.
Zeppelin too.
It's Zeppelin 2. Like,
I'm not gonna.
yeah. You're gonna not have Ramble On? Come on,
What am I
guys.
gonna listen to in the shower?
Yeah. It's not a road trip unless you've listened to Ramble On at least once. That's the rule.
John 316.
John Paul Jones,
John Paul
316.
Jones 316.
Well, boys, this has been so much fun. I haven't got to chat with you guys in a long time because of quarantine, but I'm so glad that I got to be able to catch up with you guys. And yeah, that's what. When this is all done, we're definitely gonna have to catch up next time. I told Matt this off air, but Kilmer, I'm moving to Chicago next month. But what that means is you guys are gonna have to come to Chicago for some shows, and we're gonna have to meet up for some beers and definitely hang out. So
Yes, you can show us all the best pizza joints because I know you'll know them.
oh, I already know. That's why I picked where I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live in Logan Square because my favorite pizza place. There's a place called Dante's Pizzeria.
Dante's. That's
Dante's Pizzeria. That's my favorite pizza place, and I live 10-minute walking distance to it. So
You're gonna die.
You're good.
That's crazy.
absolutely,
But,
very excited.
If you're living out there, what's your take on deep dish? I know you're a very passionate pizza man.
I am a very passionate pizza man. I could have a whole podcast on pizza and be completely fine with. But I am a fan of deep dish. It's just something that I can't eat consistently because it's so like the sauce is usually much richer and it's very much more sauce oriented. So it's definitely a treat kind of a thing for me. I'm definitely a New York style kind of guy with the big slices and
For regular consumption, that's much easier than
absolutely.
Something like that full.
For sure. Well, boys, do you have anything that you want to promote or anything that you want to plug before we go off air?
We got our very first live stream event since quarantine will be the 31st, not this Saturday, but the Saturday Sunday, not this Sunday, but the Sunday after that, and we'll be with us, Daisies,
and a band called The Lookouts.
The Lookouts, and we will be starting. It'll be kicking off at 6. We'll be going on second around 7. Pushing Daisies will be closing it out. It's going to be a benefit for our hometown heroes at Be Here Now. So awesome. We're going to be raising some money for a venue that's done a lot for us, and hopefully return the favor for them. They deserve a little bit of love right now, as do so many venues. So if it's not that venue, you should be supporting the
whatever local venue.
Whatever, or there's that like Indiana
Save Our
venue.
Stages.
Yeah,
Save Our
Alliance.
Stages.
Yes.
Yeah, the Venue Alliance. So support that. Support any venue you can. Support any small business you can.
Support live music in
support
general.
Live music, and keep supporting yourselves.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, boys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been an absolute joy. And that's what yeah, make sure to stick around. That's what there'll be a Porch Kat song to be able to listen to after this podcast is over. But make sure you go check them out. In your spare time. That's what they're on every streaming platform. Also, shout out to what was the name of the cat again? Why am I blanking?
Smudge.
Smudge. Yes.
Smudge. A song is named after him. Listen to
You know
that
what?
one.
Smudge. We're putting Smudge after this episode. That's going to be the song. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for
Love
having
you, Noah.
us.
All right, and that's the wrap on the episode.
Hey, thanks for watching Gear Over Beer. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. If you'd like to support this show, make sure to subscribe to our Patreon for additional content like the video version of this podcast.